As the years go by, the notion that celebrities are untouchable seems increasingly out of touch. Now, many stars are paying serious prices for their actions. These are the celebrities who could be behind bars for the rest of their lives. There are many people sitting in prison cells for rape and sexual assault, but few gained the notoriety that Harvey Weinstein did. Once a leading Hollywood film producer, Weinstein used his position to coerce and forcibly rape numerous women. After the allegations made against him came to light, even more women came out with similar stories.
He was a serious predator, and he had been seriously abusing people with total impunity.
Weinstein became the poster boy for the #MeToo movement, to the point that his attorney claimed he didn't get a fair trial because of this distinction. Despite Weinstein's appeals, he was found guilty of multiple rape charges in multiple places. In New York, he received a 23-year sentence and was later found guilty in Los Angeles, where he received a 16-year sentence to be served separately from the first 23. A judge ordered a retrial in New York, but as of November 2024, Weinstein is serving a 16-year prison sentence, which will likely increase. However, he'll likely die in confinement due to his failing health stemming from chronic myeloid leukemia. Weinstein's downfall went beyond his personal case, as other powerful men were similarly taken down in what has become known as the Harvey Weinstein effect. R. Kelly was one of the most successful commercial hip-hop artists, receiving the moniker the King of R&B, among others. Kelly was at the top of his game, but he was dogged by sexual abuse allegations of minors for decades. Considering he married Aaliyah when he was 27 and she was 15, the accusations against him didn't come out of nowhere. Kelly avoided allegations for years, but it finally caught up with him in 2019 when he faced charges of racketeering, sexual exploitation of a child, sex trafficking, and others related to child pornography. Kelly faced charges in state and federal jurisdictions, and he had his days in court in Chicago and New York. In Chicago, Kelly received a 20-year federal prison sentence for child pornography and enticement. In New York, Kelly received a 30-year prison sentence for 8 counts of sexual trafficking and 1 count of racketeering. Kelly will serve both sentences concurrently, but an additional year was tacked on for a combined 31-year sentence. Kelly unsuccessfully appealed to the Supreme Court, so he'll serve out his sentence and won't be eligible for parole until he's 80. Danny Masterson got his acting start in the 1980s on television before making the leap to the silver screen in 1993's Beethoven II. He's best known for playing Stephen Hyde on That 70s Show, which kept him busy through the late 90s and well into the aughts. He continued acting throughout the 2010s, but was investigated for sexual assault in 2017. This led to a civil suit for harassment. In 2020, more information and allegations came to light, resulting in 3 rape charges. Masterson is a Scientologist, and the Church of Scientology became involved in his defense. In fact, they even harassed one of Masterson's prosecutors in an unsuccessful attempt to intervene in his favor. His first trial ended in a mistrial, but his second saw him convicted on 2 counts of rape. Masterson received a sentence of 30 years to life in prison. He will be eligible for parole after serving 20 years, which would make him around 67 when that option is made available. Masterson's conviction revealed decades of sexual abuse and assault towards women, so there's a good chance Masterson's prison stay will extend beyond 30 years.
I've heard about you, and you'll be caught soon. I know you will.
Ryan Grantham was a promising young actor who could have been the next big thing. He appeared in nearly 40 films and TV shows and was well known for his work in Supernatural, Riverdale, and other popular series. Grantham cut his career and his freedom short in March 2020 when he fatally shot his mother in the back of the head. Grantham also planned to assassinate Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, but decided against it and turned himself into authorities. He was charged with first-degree murder, and through his confession and subsequent plea, he was convicted of second-degree murder. His confession revealed that he said, "I shot her in the back of the head. In the moments after, she would have known it was me." Prosecutors alleged Grantham shot his mother while she played piano and prepared to kill Trudeau by throwing an assortment of guns, ammunition, and Molotov cocktails in his car. Grantham received a sentence of life in prison for murdering his mother, though he will be eligible for parole after serving 14 years. He was 24 when he entered prison, so he could once again be a free man. Marion Hugh Suge Knight Jr. was once one of the most prominent players in hip-hop. He co-founded and acted as CEO of Death Row Records and was one of the most influential people in building the careers of Tupac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, and others in the early 1990s. Knight had a history of misdemeanors and felonies, and he spent some time behind bars. That came back to bite him years later after he was involved in a fatal hit-and-run in 2015. Knight pleaded no contest to charges accusing him of intentionally running over Clebone Sloan and Terry Carter, who died in the incident. Knight faced life in prison because of his long list of charges from earlier incidents, and the hit and run was his third strike. To keep that from happening, he avoided trial through a plea agreement, but Knight was still sentenced to a total of 28 years in prison. Because of his age at the time of his sentencing, he would be eligible for parole in 2034, when he is 69. Michael Jace was a talented character actor known for his work on The Shield. Jace started acting in the 1990s and had a promising career, which was cut short due to his actions in 2014. According to TMZ, Jace called 911 and informed the dispatcher that he had shot his wife. The police arrived and found his wife dead from multiple gunshots, and after some questioning, Jace confessed. He received a murder charge, went to trial, and was ultimately found guilty of second-degree murder. In his conviction, the jury also found that he intentionally used a gun in the attack, which increased the number of years he could receive. Prosecutors sought a first-degree murder verdict, as they believed the murder was premeditated. In the trial, Jace's 10-year-old son testified that before firing a second shot, he heard his father say, "If you like running, then run to heaven." This was taken into account at sentencing, and Jace received a hefty 40 years to life behind bars.
It was definitely a murder, and the right outcome happened.
Should he receive parole after his sentence is served and not be confined for life, Jace will be around 92 when he's released. Mel Hall was a professional baseball player who played with the Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Indians, New York Yankees, and San Francisco Giants from 1981 until 1996. He also played in the Japanese Professional Baseball League before retiring. Hall went on to coach girls' softball and basketball in Fort Worth, Texas. He had a reputation for liking younger women, but it became clear in the aughts that he actually sexually abused children. In 2009, Hall was convicted on 2 counts of indecency with a child and 3 for aggravated sexual assault. The conviction centered around a 12-year-old victim who played on the basketball team Hall coached. During his sentencing, multiple victims came out to say Hall acted inappropriately with them as well, cementing his fate as one of Texas's newest prison inmates. Hall received a sentence of 45 years with the chance for parole after he serves half of his time. If he's paroled at 22.5 years after entering prison, he will be 71. Given the gravity of the charges and his history of abuse, it's likely Hall will die behind bars, having served at least the majority of a sentence. Jonathan Koppenhaver was a professional mixed martial artist, having entered the sport officially in The Ultimate Fighter, Team Sarah vs. Team Hughes. Koppenhaver legally changed his name to War Machine, and he continued fighting professionally for several years. In 2009, War Machine entered the adult film industry, where he met and began dating Christy Mack. In 2014, War Machine brutally attacked Mack and her then-boyfriend, Corey Thomas, in Mack's home. War Machine first assaulted Thomas for 10 minutes before turning his attention to Mack, whom he assaulted with a knife before raping and savagely beating her. War Machine initially ran, but was quickly captured and charged with 36 felonies. War Machine's charges included kidnapping, attempted murder, domestic battery, rape, and more. He attempted suicide while in custody, but survived to stand trial and face justice. He was ultimately convicted on 29 of the 36 felony counts, receiving a life sentence with the possibility for parole after serving 36 years. Should he be released, War Machine would be 72 by then. Corey C. Murder Miller's rap career kicked off in the 1990s, and he released numerous albums and collaborated with iconic rappers like Snoop Dogg and Master P. Unfortunately, that career came to an end in 2002, after Miller was charged and convicted of second-degree murder when he shot and killed a 16-year-old boy in a nightclub. However, his conviction is somewhat unusual. Miller received a life sentence for the murder, but changes in the justice system's conviction guidelines pushed him to try and overturn the conviction. According to Fader, one of the witnesses at his trial revealed he was pressured and blackmailed to lie out of fear he'd go to prison on separate charges. Another witness indicated he was pressured to lie on the witness stand as well. These revelations, as well as others indicating that some jurors were also pressured into convicting Miller, led him to request a new trial. Miller even had Kim Kardashian championing his freedom, but in 2023, a federal judge decided that a new trial wasn't necessary. Given that the witnesses' recanted testimony came from unreliable sources, the judge opted to uphold Miller's conviction and sentencing. Joe's son was once a professional MMA fighter, kickboxer, and wrestler, having participated in numerous competitions over the years. He also got into film, and while he didn't appear in many movies, he had a memorable role playing Random Task in Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, a parody of Oddjob from Goldfinger, who threw a shoe instead of a hat. Son landed in legal trouble in 2008 when authorities arrested him in connection to a sexual assault from 1990. He became the primary suspect after DNA evidence linked him to the crime. The brutal attack involved another assailant in the kidnapping, torture, assault, and rape of a 19-year-old woman. Son stood trial and was convicted of torture in connection to the gang rape.
It's very bad, and the DNA tells us it's you. Wrong guy.
Son received a life sentence with the possibility of parole, but his actions in prison added to it. While confined at the Wasco State Prison in 2011, Son beat his cellmate to death. He was subsequently charged with murder and received an additional sentence of 27 years. So there's little chance Son will ever walk free. Will Hayden was a Marine and owner of a gun store, but he's probably best known for starring on the Discovery Channel's Sons of Guns. Hayden's time on the show brought him fame and boosted his company, Red Jacket, significantly. But toward the end of Sons of Guns' run, Hayden got in trouble with the law when he was arrested in 2014 for multiple counts of sexual assault on a minor. Hayden's victim testified at his trial that when she was 11 and 12, Hayden repeatedly raped her. Another woman came forward, claiming she too was assaulted by him when she was 12 and 13. On top of that, his daughter levied similar claims of sexual assault when she was a child. Hayden's trial revealed the depths of his abusive nature toward children, and it didn't take long for the jury to convict him of 1 count of forcible rape and 2 counts of aggravated rape. Hayden received 2 concurrent life sentences plus another 40 years. A short time later, Hayden was hit with another life sentence. There's no option for parole for Hayden, and he will almost surely die in prison for his many crimes against children. Ian Watkins was the lead singer and frontman for The Lost Prophets, and he had a great deal of success for several years. The Lost Prophets released 6 albums and toured in Europe and North America. In 2008, reports of sexual misconduct with children arose, but authorities didn't charge Watkins until 2012 following an extensive investigation. Eventually, Watkins got his day in court, and in 2013, he pleaded guilty to attempted rape of a baby, the sexual assault of a child under the age of 13, and more. Watkins did not plead guilty to rape and went to trial on a number of serious charges. He was convicted of the charges he pled guilty to, as well as possessing and making indecent images of kids and animals and more. Watkins received a sentence of 31 years and will be eligible for parole after serving 20 years. Upon sentencing, Vice reports the judge described Watkins' crimes as having, quote, plumbed new depths of depravity.
There is no doubt in my mind that Ian Watkins has exploited his celebrity status in order to abuse young children.
It's unlikely Watkins will be free during his good years because his crimes were especially egregious. While serving his sentence, The Guardian reports other inmates held Watkins hostage and stabbed him, so he doesn't have many friends on the inside either. If you or anyone you know may be the victim of child abuse, please contact the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4A-CHILD. That's 1-800-422-4453. Or contact their live chat services.